dope. Everything is dope. Nah, ain't nobody as dope as we. Entry. Dope sessions, dope sessions. Dope sessions. It's the Dope Sessions Podcast. Ooh. It's the Dope Sessions Podcast. Ooh.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Thank y'all again for tuning in to one of the dopest indie podcasts on the planet. Man, it's the Dope Sessions Podcast. I'm your host, LoFi Kelvy. Back again with another episode. Man, I do have a guest on this episode, and I want to bring him on here because I think he has so much wealth of information, especially with him being the age that he is. He is an artist. He's a writer, producer, singer, rapper. There's so much more I could say, but I will say this. He is my nephew. This is Aaron, a.k.a. Sage Okra. What's up? What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I wanted to bring you on for this specific reason because I know when I texted you, I kind of like threw you off with maybe some of the questions I was asking, and because well, I'll just start off like this. Like, we all know that Jay-Z just performed at the Roots Picnic, and one of the things that was highlighted was his freestyle. And
Okay.
after the freestyle happened, there was all this response from like younger generations about, man, don't nobody want to hear that old man rap shit. Don't nobody want to hear old man bars. And I started thinking, I said, man, what really is old man bars? But as I kept having conversations with different people, like, I realized that when we were young, we probably said the same thing too. We don't want to hear this old stuff, this, and that. And but I think what they really do is try to play the whole like young versus old type of thing. And I can understand from both sides how we feel about a certain thing and or certain music and all this other stuff. But I wanted to talk to you because you grew up with, music that me and your dad play, along with music that, that you personally love on a different level. And
Yeah.
and because you have such a vast, eclectic like love of music, that's why I wanted to bring you on, because there's this thing where so for my generation or maybe older, we're more about the lyrics, the longevity, this and that, and then it seemed like more the young people are just about the music and the vibe. Like, so is there, with you being young and people that you're surrounded around with, is there a thing that like young cats just don't like lyrics at all?
I think that's a good question. I think I don't think that it's young people specifically. I think throughout time, especially since I want to say what was that, 2008, 9, ever since 808s and Heartbreaks came out, it became a split in rap specifically, where people started to realize I actually prefer to just feel. I don't really, a lot of people, when it comes to words nowadays, it's becoming less and less valuable in the grand scheme of things. Like, obviously there's still young people that still like that stuff. But like in the grand scheme of things in today's time, it's like more socially normal for people to just, what is this feeling I'm looking for, instead of, oh, like what's he spitting about? Is he attacking this emotion properly? You got, Kanye with 808s and Heartbreaks, and then literally right after that you got Drake and Future, then Travis Scott, then Kid Cudi, and then it literally, it goes into this whole little different wave. And this is what everybody's rocking with now, because it's like, oh, I'm here to feel, a lot of these, or I guess a lot of us in our generation or whatever, we're more so into like, I'd rather feel something than listen to what someone has to say. And I think the older generation was prominent on that because that was a social norm. Like the standard was back then, what do you have to say? What are you writing about? Now, is in terms of now, people are like, okay, like, is it how does it make me feel? Whether it's good or it can make me feel bad, it can make me feel good, it can make me reminisce, it can, as long as it's doing something, as long as it's making me feel. And I feel like people are prioritizing the emotion more so than the lyrics in rap today. I talk to a lot of like young people. They don't, like, a lot of times they don't even know what they're saying, but sometimes I think it's a combination of just like the society changing the norm. Because you got people like Playboy Cardi that's like famous, and again, I always go back to 808s and Heartbreaks because that's literally what started all of this. In terms of like, we're like going into rap with the priority being emotion, instead of what do I have to say. And I don't really consider it a bad thing, but it is a thing, and I think that's what really got it going. So now people are more like, yeah, what do I feel? What do I feel? What do I feel? And less more so into what are they saying. Hence why the people who are famous today or on these top lists now are the reason why they're up there, because of the emotion that they're curating instead of what they're saying.
No, no, and I totally get that, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I do sense that I'll tell you from personal experience on
Yeah.
like something on my end. When 808s and Heartbreak came out, I remember a lot of people my age who didn't really like it. I
Right.
may have been maybe one in a few people my age at the time when 808s and Heartbreak came out that thought that was one of Kanye's best albums. Like I love the College Dropout and Graduation
Uh-huh.
and Late Registration and stuff, but I
Yeah.
also like really loved and responded to 808s and Heartbreak because I think at the time, even though like I was into, you know, motherfuckers doing like heavy bars and shit like that, like
Right.
I was also kind of getting into more of like what are like I love bars, but what are you really saying in the bars that's gonna make me feel something?
Right.
And I sense that when Kanye did do 808s and Heartbreak, it came right during like his mother's death and I think a
Uh-huh.
breakup with his girlfriend and all this other stuff. So he was going through
Yeah.
all of this stuff. So then to me it was like, holy shit, like, I didn't know you could do this. And
Right.
I told people before, like I said I think it's gonna be one of those albums where I think people are not going to respond to it well, but years later they're going to like really love that project. And
Yeah.
so even in that, like the one thing that I have conversations with like people my age is that how young people and even when we were young, I think we didn't really know how to express a feeling of why we didn't like a certain thing. And
Uh-huh.
so, so nowadays I think like young people are like even with the whole old man rap stuff or old man bars, and
Yeah.
I even put the question about that in like threads and everybody
Uh-huh.
kept giving me the same response. It was like, like how they used to rap in like the early 80s, like I went to school and I ain't no fool. And I'm like, who the
Right.
hell is rapping like that these
Nobody
days?
raps like that.
But it's like that's why I'm like, is that what some of the young kids are hearing, or is this like? Because to me, like even when I had a conversation with my boy D-Net, we were talking about. I don't think it's so much of the rap. I think it's more of the flow.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it's the flow and it's the beats. So
Mm-hmm.
I think of like one incident where like, and I don't know if people really remember this, but there was an incident where like Lil Uzi Vert was on Hot 97, and Ebro was trying to make him rap because Ebro was like, here's the thing that I don't think too many people know when it comes to like a Trippy Red or Uzi Vert and all these guys. They know how to rap.
Yeah,
That just ain't what they doing music
yeah.
wise. And
Right.
so Ebro was like, "Man, I heard you can rap. I want you to rap." I think Uzi was down to do it, but he was just like, "Man, look, if you give me one of them old man beats, I'm not gonna rap. I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna do it." And I think it just all comes down to taste, but also being the age that you are, and then like being on the internet. I think there's a difference between having a taste and just joining the in crowd. Like
Mm-hmm.
you remember when everybody was like, at one point it seemed like everybody was like, "Man, fuck J. Cole
Yeah.
and fuck Russ," and it wasn't even the fact that they listened to the music. It was just they just jumped on the bandwagon. So
Mm-hmm.
when at the age that you are, is like what do you do at that point? How do you not go with what they're saying versus or just not saying anything at all? Even if you don't like a certain thing, like how do you express it more than most people your age get to do?
I think for me, and I think me being an artist plays a part in this as well. But for me, it's just remembering or realize that at the end of the day, this is all subjective. Um, rarely a time where there's like you can make an objective statement about music. Um, there may be people I don't like. I don't like Russ. Promise, for me personally, this is a hot take. I don't like Jid, and it's not to say he's a bad rapper. I just literally can't get into his voice. His voice is just I can't. I don't want to listen to 3 minutes of that.
Right.
And it's like at the same time, under this same breath where I say I can't listen to Jid, I won't listen to Jid. I don't like his voice. I can still acknowledge that he's a great rapper. He made a really great album. The last album that he dropped, he's great. And it's like realizing or being able to separate how I feel and making it fact, right? Like I can't be like, oh, J. Cole trash, Rush trash, oh, Woo Woo trash. If they're selling out stadiums, like why, like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Drake is trash. He's selling out stadiums. So it's like, that's a subjective statement. It can't be objective if he's literally out here selling out wherever. He has a genuine fan base. These artists have a genuine fan base regardless of how I feel about it.
Right.
So like for me, it's like that's just not my thing. But like I can acknowledge that they're a good artist. That's usually how I go about it. I'd be like, yeah, that's just not really my taste, or I'm just not. Yeah, that's not really my vibe, or I'm not gravitating to that. And that's not to say said person is bad or good. I'm just simply not gravitating to that.
No, and that's totally true, and I totally understand it. Because the one thing that I've learned myself, as far as like being a rapper and a singer, is that even like having friends that's in the industry, they'll tell you too, like what you said before is actually true. Like as far as voices,
Yeah,
like you said, like you said that Jid, and I agree with that. I think Jid is a fantastic rapper. But like you said, like you may not be able to dig into his voice and how he projects his voice in his songs. And there's a lot of people who tell me, like I've had friends that tell me like, yo, Kelvin, man, like I know that you fuck with Kendrick Lamar, you fuck with Mac Miller, you fuck with Wiz Khalifa, you fuck with Kurt. I just can't do it, man. It's their voice. It's just the voice.
Yeah.
And something else that you brought up too, to where I think like I said, like I think better separates you is that you're able to acknowledge what I think a lot of people your age or even, younger don't really get to, or may just not know how to express it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so when you hear a term like, if you could put your mindset into how they feel, like when you hear something like old man bars, like what does that sound like to you if you were thinking like them, and then thinking as yourself, what do you think that means to you?
I feel like a lot of people have to remember that a lot of people out here are, and I promise you I don't mean this like in an offensive way, but a lot of people out here are sheep in terms of I'm whatever the trend is, that's what I'm going with, right? And if it's 2026 and I'm hearing what's hot right now? You got what Cardi, 808s is a heavy thing in rap today. You got 808s rapping about things that aren't really a lot of people are rapping about how they feel or drug abuse, substance abuse, things of that nature in a either fast or in a mumbly type of way. Usually, like the way people are rapping now is literally like I like to see it as they're using their voice as part of an instrument to the beat, where opposed to quote unquote old man bars. You got people actually prioritizing their lyrics or their voice. Like the beat is definitely second. It's the voice and then it's the beat. Whether today is like the voice with the beat. And I think when people hear that, they go, "Oh, they call it old man bars because they're like, yo, this is out." Pretty much them saying this is outdated. We're onto this new thing now. And I don't think a lot of people, like we were talking about earlier, have the ability or awareness levels to be able to separate like quote unquote old man bars still being able to be good. Because it's automatically a derogatory statement when you're like, oh, these are old man bars. We don't want to hear that no more. And they're automatically like, yeah, this we haven't heard this in a while, or like we can track where this said flow is coming from. Woo, 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 woo. It's like, yeah, I guess people are like, that's not the moves no more. We're following trends. A lot of people like to follow trends, and when you don't follow said trend, a lot of people get thrown off, or a lot of people are just not messing with that. Like in terms of the said herd, or like majority of whatever the social norm is.
Right. Man, I was thinking about this as well because as you said, like a lot of people do follow trends, and a lot of stuff now because how big and how vast and how fast the internet is, right?
Yeah.
The theory for me is because as if I'm putting Jay-Z back on this thing, right? It's Jay-Z is not looked favorable as he used to be.
Yeah.
So because he's not looked as favorable, except for people my age and people even like people my age, I would say are probably not like the biggest like Jay-Z fans, but some people like do respect him for what he's done in like hip hop.
Right.
Some people my age is probably just like, yeah, he can rap, but he wasn't for me. You know,
Yeah.
nowadays, like, you got like the academics of the world who, or putting out this stuff about, oh, Jay-Z's doing this to other artists and blah 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 blah. So people are reading that or looking at that and be like, yeah, like not even doing the research themselves, And
Hmm.
that's the one thing that I've always said too, when people be like, man, Jay-Z wasn't as hot as y'all think he was. And I'm like, all you gotta do is a Google search. Like
No, he
or
was. He was hot.
yeah. like you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing too, like I'll tell people like, you know what? If you're talking about when he came out with Reasonable Doubt and In My Lifetime Volume 2, like
Right.
then I'm kind of like, okay, that's true. And it was a lot of, I mean, DMX was out,
Uh-huh.
all these other people was out around that time. So it's like, yes, wow, he may have been like huge in like New York and maybe some other places. There was people that were like larger than him. But like when Reasonable Doubt came out, from
Hmm.
Reasonable Doubt, from not even Reasonable Doubt, from Hard Knock Life to whatever album, he was on top. Like
Yeah.
he was literally on top. So and it's but I think because of the hate train and people following people who they like I said, like an academic or somebody who just like, they'll just say shit without
Uh.
any like, even like I just saw a video academics finding out that Jay-Z wrote Still Dre for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if you really knew, you would already know that. Like,
Yeah.
and other stuff but like, no. And I think that the bigger issue that I have as far as like with hip hop is this: we have a lot of people who are basically the voices of basically not even like my generation, just voices of like a new generation who really don't know shit about shit. But it's
Yeah.
like they get to control everything. So
Uh.
people like me or even your voice gets drowned out in the sea of like messy bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's true.
so it's like so I guess like what I want to know from you is, or just in general, like because my thing is, I think our voices need to be a little bit louder. That way we can like glitch the matrix.
Uh.
Do you think that we should start glitching the matrix a bit, or what how do you feel, like what do you see, or how should we continue to move in this space when you know uh certain things are getting talked about more than other things?
I feel like when it comes to stuff like this, me personally, I'm so like I love keeping what I like as secluded and inclusive as possible. So my opinion, I'd be like, yes, y'all think he's trash, cool, fine by me. I can really just listen to him all by myself. Or like the now the community has become like more authentic because I know you really have to go against the grain to mess with what I'm messing with. Or I know you're not in this just because you think it's a trend. Like you in this because you genuinely like this. Um, and I feel like a lot of times too, a lot of people, a lot more people than we think feel the same way, or a lot of people that we think feel the same way about this conversation in terms of old man bars and how Jay-Z's approach in today's time. A lot of people have similar ideas or thoughts as you or me. We're just not as loud about it, and I'm me personally, I'm fine with that. Is again because I feel like then that really shows that if you are in this is like real authentic, like you truly love this. Composers just doing it because it's a trend, and not everything has to be like. Sometimes like people don't want to hear the actual truth because people aren't going to actually like dig for it. Um, if we sitting here and telling people like, yo, that's not the case. If like you said earlier, if you got the academics, if the herd is saying if the herd is saying one thing, then like that is what it is. We know it's not true. Um, and 9 times out of 10, history always repeats itself. People always go backwards. Um, I like to. I think what around this time last year, actually, it was a whole trend in the NBA community, and they were like saying we done with the '90s, pretty much trashing every star that was in the '90s, simply because it was a trend. And now, after that trend is over, people now are regained respect for Jordan or Shaq or Elijah Wan, all these other people in the '90s, and it's like sometimes what I've experienced in terms of like the internet so far and these trends, it's like this stuff comes and goes. Um, and once you, as your individual self, actually do the work, then you realize, oh, they was lying. They wasn't actually paying attention for real. Like you can't. I feel like anybody that's sitting here saying, "Oh, this is old man bars," we don't want to hear that. You're just not paying attention for real. And or because like I think my thing is also is like, okay, if this is quote unquote old man bars, what do you want him to do? He's like 50 something. Do you want him to start rapping like Uzi? Nobody wants to hear that. I wouldn't want to hear that personally. I
Right.
prefer how he is, who he is. I want to hear Jay-Z. I don't want to hear Jay-Z turn to anybody else. Like I feel like honestly that's where Kanye kind of dropped the ball a little bit. He kind of just started going with what's uh hot to a certain degree. He tried to keep his own sound, but like at the same time he is drifting more towards the herd a little bit. And yeah, it's like people to go back to the question, I feel like people just don't see the value, and people who do, you cherish that even more. So I prefer it this way. If that's how the herd sees it, so be. Like I wouldn't throw a glitch in the matrix because now the community has become more authentic, and that's what I prefer.
No, man. Something that you said in that I totally agree. Oh, I agree with all of the stuff that you were saying. Because recently, like at my job, I remember some kids asking me like who you think was better, Jordan or LeBron? And I was like, well, um, I said, well, I would have to say Jordan because I grew up watching
Mm-hmm.
Jordan.
Yeah.
But and all the kids that there was like 3 to 4 kids that was waiting for my response, and this is in middle school, and
Mm-hmm.
and I said, well, I grew up on Jordan, and I grew up on Jordan, and I'm born and raised here in Chicago. I know what those Bulls championships felt like, you know,
Yeah.
and it was like, yes, all right, Mr. Kelvin, see, and it was, but I said, but that ain't no. I'm not saying either that LeBron is a horrible player because he's not.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, he cool, but he ain't better than Jordan. I was like, oh, y'all must have been watching like Jordan highlights on YouTube and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that.
Yeah.
Cause I also find that to be like a thing too. Like, and I don't want to just say young people as a whole because there are young people who a friend of mine was just saying, man, it's he went down a rabbit hole of like young kids who like bars. And of course, you're gonna have young kids that don't like bars. Um, and I have a friend that's another one, a friend of mine who's a DJ, and he was talking about how he ran into a rabbit hole of like like young people that don't like scratches, like the DJs doing scratches and stuff. He was like, that's how I
Yeah.
grew up, learning how to DJ and all this other stuff, putting the scratches in. But he was like, there's a generation of kids that don't like that. And yes, I understand that, we all go through a like a different vibe or different whatever, like,
Yeah.
listening thing. I think what happens with for us as older individuals, I think we look not just with like the Jay-Z albums, but just like hip hop as a whole, like the Wu-Tang stuff, Biggie and
Uh,
all this other stuff, and we look and we go back to like this old R&B, like the Jodeci's and all this other stuff, and we see that as like timeless stuff that you just
yeah.
continue to keep going back. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes the older generation wonders if are there albums that came out in y'all generation that you can say that you can go back to 20, 30 years later, you can go back to and still enjoy and all this other stuff. And I think that there are albums like that for y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Um I think I was always for me personally, I always wondered, I said, man, like, is there anything that Uzi Vert has done? And I enjoy Uzi Vert's music. There's some Lil Yachty stuff that I like. Like there's some Kodak Black stuff that I like. I also wonder,
Hmm.
like, even with like the stuff that people listen to, like the youth listen to now. I like my wonder is like, are you still going to be listening to that once you get to either your age, my age, your dad's age, and even older? Are you going to go back to that? And
Um. Oh, do you want me to answer that now, or
yeah,
you want
yeah,
to
you
still?
can. Yeah.
Okay. Um. I'm for sure. There's definitely like now. I think the only difference between the artists that you were mentioning and like the ones today, like Uzi and all them,
Mm-hmm.
I think the only difference is like Hove or Biggie or Jodeci. Those people have a lot of tracks that I can go back to that like now at 2026. I'm like, yes, it's fire.
Yeah.
Um, with Uzi and them, a lot of their stuff, the things that people go back to is more so like the 2016 stuff. Like that stuff, like when they first started, those are we're still gonna be listening to that like in our like whatever, like 30 years from now. The same way people still listen to I'm really not trying to compare Uzi to the Beatles, but like in terms of like just rock, because again, it's like, oh, just like songs now is more so like we're going back just for the sake of, oh, this was like a time capsule for us. Um, Less in the sense of this is just timeless music, more so in the sense of this is a time capsule. Um, go to this song and it takes you back to this time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some like classic or timeless albums I don't think, or pieces I wouldn't say what was that album? I forgot that album. I think it was like Uzi versus the World. Like those were like most where his like real genuine like classic bangers are at. I
Right.
feel like those are the ones that people are gonna go back to. Um I think that whole like Kodak Black one again, it's like when these people first started, these are the stuff that people are gonna go back to. And I feel like the thing with that is, or at least my main issue with these new artists and stuff, is that they do not evolve. Like it's usually like it's kind of like the opposite, how they have a very short climb up. They peak really early and then it's just down from there. Um and it's like it's no there's no like evolution. It's like usually once they hit that spot, they're like, okay, it's cool, I'm coasting by. Um and I feel like when it comes to that, so it's like I feel like the opportunity could be there, but it's just we don't have it. Because yeah, usually after that first genuine banger, that's it. And I feel like it's part of the reason is because the music is less intentional,
Hmm.
and B, we also have the internet. I feel like the difference between the internet and back then is back then you had physical media, so you literally would buy an album and you had to sit with that. You like compared to now, I have I have the biggest library of music in my disposal for just $12 a month. $12 was a whole album back then, probably a little less.
Right.
Um, so it's I feel like it's a combination of yes, the music is less intentional, but because we have so much more music at our disposal, it's like why even sit here and listen to the same thing if I don't have to? I can literally just go. I can literally bounce whenever, wherever. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's a combination of both of those things. But I would say, yeah, like to a certain degree, they do have classics. I wouldn't say to the degree of back then, because I feel like back then you had everybody listening to that stuff. Um, like I feel like older people, even older people, like the audience was way wider compared to now, where I feel like our specific generation or our specific like niche little community is going to be listening to this like 30 years later, but that's about it. You know? Who's to say what the next generation is going to say about this stuff, right? Because the next generation, like, or right now, this generation, there's plenty of us that love Jay-Z. You still got you got folks like Navy Blue. Like Navy Blue has his own community. He's still young, so like there's proof in the pudding that there is a genuine community that still appreciates the old arts. I have a concern, I guess, that it wouldn't come off the same way when the next generation comes up, because I don't feel like I was saying earlier, the music is a little less intentional, and it's really like one of those things where I feel like now we're gonna have the same conversation, or my generation is gonna have the same conversation with the next generation about and the argument is always, oh, you just had to be there, you just had to be there, because usually with the context, yes, this song or this piece makes way more sense with the context, but without the context, i.e. Jay-Z, without the context, it's like, oh, this shit is trash. Like I don't want to listen to this. Like it's garbage. Or it's old man bars, quote unquote. And who knows? They may call Cardi and Uzi old man bars 30 years from now. I hope not. That would come off really weird.
Right, right.
But it's like, again, it's just like I feel like these conversations are just it's a recycling and repeat. Even back then when rap first started, everybody thought that wasn't gonna, like, everybody was talking about how when it first started, people didn't think that would last. People thought it was like trash. They were like, oh, this is garbage. And understandably, considering the context, we go from Earth, Wind and Fire to and Marvin Gaye, people that are making real life scores to um a two tracker. You got
Right,
the sample, you got a drum beat, and you got someone just rapping.
right.
And not to say that that's bad, but it's like considering like there's people like they're like in the 70s and the 60s. There was no being a musician if you actually didn't know how to sing, if you actually didn't know music theory. Compared to now, literally anybody can make music.
Right.
As long as you got that flow, as long as you got a good ear for it, you can make
Hmm.
a hit.
Oh,
Um,
and here's the other thing, going back to what you said just on like a hip hop thing too.
yeah,
Here's what people don't remember. People don't remember, like, people see hip hop as this big thing now, but back in the day, nobody liked hip hop.
it
Not
was
even,
trash though.
not even black people liked hip hop.
Yeah,
It was it was radio stations dedicated to saying how you gonna get the best variety of like hits. You gonna get Dusty's. You gonna get this R&B. We ain't playing
hmm,
that rap bullshit. Like, it was
yeah,
radio stations that was saying that. Like,
yeah,
people don't realize how good they have it.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
people don't realize they can listen to hip hop every day right now. Every
Uh
day.
huh.
I
Hmm.
remember a time where when I was young, we could only listen to hip hop on Saturday nights.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
so it is a thing. And the one thing that I will say, and we'll end this, is something that there's a video going around with Most Def talking to Black Boy Max. And
Okay.
and Most Def is telling him like, hey, because I forgot where they was at, but I think they was all at a Kanye show. And
Okay.
and he was telling Black Boy Max, he was like, yo, don't just listen to or pay attention to the black art that you like. Pay attention and learn about it all.
Yeah.
Because that's your history. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, that's your history. Love it, learn about it, love it all, dog. Because you never know where it's gonna lead. Because just like you said before, like, you were right. Like, the stuff that we had to go through listening to rap, and people aren't not saying like, people, I don't understand this rap crap y'all be listening to and all this other stuff. And then we went through it, so now we're kind of going through it again in the genre that we love. Because again, like the old man bars, and I don't want to hear that boom bappity bullshit that y'all be listening to, and all this other stuff. And then in turn, we're like, man, I don't want to listen to your whiny ass, like, it's like, we went from, it's basically like, hey, we was the motherfuckers who was selling drugs. Y'all the motherfuckers out here that's using drugs and like being fiends and all this other shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like this different, like just within the culture, is just like all this, this talking points. And I think another thing that you said was right, was just like, there's so many niches that's going on in hip hop, to where you can still have Jay-Z still doing his thing. You still had Eclipse, because they got nominated for Grammys for they album. You could have somebody like an Earl Sweatshirt and a mic and a navy blue and all these other cats. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I just, like, my thing is, I'm just like, hey, if you don't like Jay-Z, you just don't like Jay-Z. That's cool. But all of I'm going to jump on this train because it's kind of like easy for me to jump on the train shit. To me, I'm just like, that's the corny part about it.
I think it is like that too. I think for me, it's like, or at least what got me, and like, obviously, being around you and Dad, and also a combination of like, okay, who do I like right now, right? So let's say I like Uzi, right? And just doing a simple game of knowing your history. I can trace Uzi directly to Young Thug and Future. Okay, what made Young Thug and Future Young Thug and Future? Kanye West, 808s and Heartbreaks. What made Kanye West? Jay-Z. What made Jay-Z? You go back to Raekwon. What made Raekwon? Now we're outside of rap. Now we're getting into what's that man name? Sky Heron. What's Sky Heron? Now you got Jazz. And it's like, for me, it's like, okay, respecting my history and seeing these same mannerisms, or these same, in terms of instruments or in terms of flow, seeing it all the way back to 1960s with a different era, different genre, and realizing, like, at the very least, I feel like people can, like, just respect it. You don't have to like it, but respect it. Like, realizing, I may not like Jay-Z, but there's no way this rapper right here is here without Jay-Z. There's just no way that's happening. Or any other artist that's giving, quote unquote, old man bars. I guarantee Future or Young Thug, they probably respect Jay-Z with the utmost, or Kanye West with the utmost.
Right.
And it's like, again, because it's realizing, like, this is literally where I got this from. This whole rapping, what Cardi's doing. He got that straight from Wayne. Where did Wayne get that from? Wayne got that from, I don't even know who Wayne got that from. Probably uh the Southern rap back then, like Project Pat and all them. And again, they literally, like, you can always trace his back, all the way to gospel if you really want to get into it. But and again, it's just like more so to the point was like the only thing I would ask in terms of this is just simply respect it, like, or just know, like, get yourself in the know where, and it's like I feel like once you get yourself in the know, then okay, these old man bars actually do make it's kind of fire now that I think about it. But once you see the influence with whatever artist that you're listening to today.
And that's where we're gonna end it right there, y'all. Man, I want to thank my nephew, Sage Okra, for being on the show, man. Yo, Sage,
Yeah.
where can everybody find your music and all that stuff, man? Tell them about your music, where they can find it.
Sage Okra, SAGE space OKRA. I'm everywhere, man. Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services. You follow me on Instagram at Sage Okra with 2 A's at the end instead of 1, no space. That's where I'm gonna be posting all that stuff. Currently working on a new album right now. I'm very close to being finished. Hopefully that drops within the next 2 months. And it's definitely some of my best work. I'm really excited to drop this and have everybody hear it for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. And for people that don't know, when you see the name Jupiter Sage as well, that's me and Sage as well, doing beats together. And we also do music under LoFi Collective and all that other stuff, man. But Neff, man, I want to thank you again for joining me on the show, man. I gotta have you back on here, so hopefully
Sure. I
you
love
drop back
talking
on here
music,
and let's
man.
talk, man.
For sure. I love to talk about music. I can do this all day.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Until next time, man. We out here. Peace.